Now, I love gaming on my Switch. It has great exclusives and experiences that just fit better on a handheld. But unfortunately for me, I do find the form factor of the Joy-Cons a little uncomfortable over them longer play sessions. So I do tend to find myself playing docked with a wireless controller in the main. So when EasySMX reached out to me with information on their latest wireless split pad, I was pretty excited. This is the EasySMX wireless Joy-Cons for Nintendo Switch, which touts a more controller-like experience with superior comfort, durability and a number of pro features that just make it better than your standard Joy-Cons. And in today's video we will be putting the S15 through its paces, all to help you decide if the S15 is the Joy-Con alternative you've been searching for. To do this, we will be reviewing in the 4 usual main categories that we always do, all before giving my overall thoughts at the end. At this point, I'll mention that this controller was sent to me for the purposes of this review, but this has had no impact on this video or my views expressed in it. Now, if you do find yourself looking to pick one up, EasySMX have been kind enough to offer my subscribers a discount code, which I will leave in the description of the video. But with all of that out the way, let's get into it. As previously mentioned, we will be reviewing the S15 in 4 categories, starting with the price, including a quick unboxing and checking out everything you get with a purchase. Secondly, the design and key features, highlighting the main attributes the controller possesses. Thirdly, the customization, anything you can do to make the S15 suit you best. And then lastly, the playtest, how is it in hand, how is it under use. Let's get started with the price, shall we? And in the UK, the S15 Joy-Cons will cost you around £45. In the US, around $50, and in the EU, around €50. So a fairly comparable price to other Joy-Con packages out there. But what do we get included with our purchase? Well, of course, we get the 2 halves of the S15. A USB Type-C charging cable, a slightly longer extra set of thumbsticks, and an instruction manual, which as always I do recommend to hold on to, as it has some useful information about the controller. Taking a quick look at a couple of the attachments and beginning with the charging cable, which as with other EasySMX gamepads is pretty basic, but it is mainly used for just charging, so no real problem. I would say it would have been nice to have been supplied with 2, so that we could charge both halves of the S15 simultaneously, rather than one at a time. But this can be achieved by docking your Switch with both Joy-Cons in place, which will most likely be the case in all honesty. The thumbsticks are a nice addition, but other than the longer length, they are identical. I would have liked to see a different grip design or maybe a domed thumbstick cap, just for a greater contrast. All in all, however, I feel the S15 gives pretty good value compared to similar products on the market. But what does the S15 do to make it stand out from the crowd? Well, let's move on to the design and key features. Starting with the general aesthetics, and I'm very happy with the look of the S15. It has a clean design, with the main shell being largely white, accented by the see-through plastic on the D-pad and the face buttons. The RGB lighting really helps to cut through the white to give a punch of colour. Moving on to the back, and we can see the 4 extra macro buttons, which we will talk about a little bit later on, and also a textured finish on the side grips. Now this is just a hard plastic design, which does feel a little bit cheap. But when you consider that this is a device designed for gaming on the go, and is likely to have multiple users, it makes sense to go for a more durable finish, rather than a rubberized grip, which does feel more premium, but is prone to wear. With the design covered, let's get on to some of the features of the S15. Firstly, we have the Hall effect thumbsticks, which should allow us to stay stick drift free, a problem that standard Joy-Cons have suffered from. Next, we have mecha tactile face buttons, which are super satisfying to use. They're kind of a cross between cushion membrane buttons and micro switch face buttons. I generally prefer the more clicky actuation, so all good here. The shoulder buttons and triggers are also implemented similarly. The back paddles are meant to be the same style, but don't quite feel the same, well to me anyway. These 4 macro buttons can be bound to other functions, giving us many more possibilities when gaming, which is great. Not quite so great is that, as far as I can tell, the 2 left buttons can only be bound to the functions of the left Joy-Con, while the back right buttons can only be bound to the functions on the right Joy-Con, which is a little frustrating as this isn't how I'm familiar with using back paddles on a Pro controller, for example. but it is still a nice addition nonetheless. Quickly running through some of the other features, and we have of course the RGB lighting, a high capacity built-in battery, a turbo mode, 4 levels of vibration and NFC support, meaning you can get all of the benefits this allows like amiibo support. So again, the S15 looks a nice package. It could be neatened up in a couple areas, but it gives us a few pro features rarely seen in wireless Joy-Cons. But is there anything we can do to suit the S15 best to our playstyle? Well, let's talk about the customization. Admittedly, the customization is a little light in this area, but we do have a few things that we can tinker with. As mentioned previously, we have the longer thumbsticks, which are easily swapped out as so, and a nice option for those that prefer a higher aim stick, for example. We also have the macro back buttons, which we have touched on, but they do allow for some great ways to outplay your opponents, especially when taking advantage of the turbo function. But the main area of customization for me is the RGB lighting. Now, if this isn't for you as you find it a little distracting, they can be turned down or off completely. But we do also have the option to cycle through a number of preset lighting designs. I particularly like this red one. There isn't as much personalization as I have seen from other EasySMX pads, but enough to at least keep us interested. But let's get on to the main talking point of the S15. How is it under use? Well, undoubtedly the real reason you would want to pick this split pad up is because of the added comfort it affords you, and how it makes you feel like you're holding a proper gamepad, compared to the constricted feeling that we can get from the standard Joy-Cons. And I'm happy to say that the S15 succeeds in this regard. Ergonomically, it fits in hand well, and once you're used to using them, you won't want to go back to those smaller Joy-Cons. As someone with slightly larger hands, it feels so much better when swapping between thumbsticks to face buttons. A much more naturally sized spacing in my opinion. Touching on the D-pad, and again it has the same clickiness as the other face buttons, has nice rotation, which is awesome for fighting games, and it is also slightly raised, reminiscent of the D-pad found on the Razer Wolverine V3, which I've reviewed recently on the channel, link on screen, right here. The back buttons are also well placed, and I didn't find myself accidentally pressing them, but they were easily accessible whenever I needed them. Mentioning the thumbsticks, and they are smooth with none of the graininess that can be encountered with some sticks. There is a calibration option which you can check out in the information manual, but in my experience, they have worked perfectly. The S15 was well suited to side scrollers that I tend to play on my Switch, but also with the action and sports games that I tested. And it is just a better way to experience gaming on the go. So with 4 review areas talked through, what's my verdict on the EasySMX S15? Well, this is just a superior way to play your Switch. Once you get used to the comfort you get with a more traditional controller grip, and when you pair this with the pro features like Hall Effect thumbsticks and back buttons, you won't be able to go back. All by not sacrificing the things that make gaming on the Switch special. I do have a couple complaints. The macro switchers don't quite let you tune them the ways I would expect from back buttons. While cosmetically it would be cool to see more options with the RGB customization, and I would have also preferred rubberized side grips. But overall, for the price, this is an impressive piece of kit, and this will be the way I play my Switch for the foreseeable. But what do you guys think? Is the EasySMX S15 something you are interested in? What do you like or dislike about the S15? Remember to let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to check out the description for a discount code if you are looking to pick the controller up. Oh, and while you are diving in down there, please remember to subscribe and of course hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it, and it is the best way to support the channel. But that's it guys, that's the video. Thanks so much for watching, and until the next time, I'll catch us.